That means he has begun to rule. He is ruling. I'm telling you, the kingdom of Messiah is ruling right now. And do you know what that means for the remnant of Israel? It means he is raising them up. Right now, he is raising up the remnant of Israel. And this is why strange things have been going on in people's lives. He is gathering them together. And you know, it's something little now because we're right at the beginning of this happening. But this little flow is going to become a great flood. It is. You will be the pioneers of something amazing. What did he do with the scroll? You know what he did? 4 of those seals came right off. 4 horsemen went out on the 4 winds. Let me tell you, this has happened. They are there. They are no longer in that scroll. They are real now in our world. They have been let loose on the 4 winds. You know, Yahweh showed me this in 2008. One of those horsemen is economic or global economic crisis. That's what he showed me. Global economic crisis. That's even the term he gave me. In my radio programs that are in here, I told people that the black horse rider is going to come to your neighborhood soon because he's been let loose by Messiah on this world. This means global economic crisis like the world has never seen before. You know what happened? You know what the response was? Some people wrote to me and they said, you shouldn't be trying to scare people like that. That could never happen. In a few months, the stock market started crashing, not only in America, but around the world. And the phrase that I used in my program, global economic crisis, started being on the headlines of newspapers around the world. Certain government figures today are saying that the economic crisis is over. Let me tell you something. We haven't even started yet as to where this is going to end up. All the things that those 4 horsemen represent are let loose into the world. Why then doesn't everything just come crashing down? Here's the reason. Because Yahweh is holding back the full brunt of all of these things because he is selecting the remnant of Israel. This is a period just like that period that happened in the 1st century. And he is calling out his remnant people. And the world is going to see something so strange happen here over a period of time. Because there is going to be a believing nation of Israel in the world, of people that are scattered everywhere. You see, you might be part of the remnant of Israel. But you might say, wait a minute now, that can't be because I'm an American. Or I can't be an Israelite because I'm a Canadian. Or I'm a Kenyan. Or I'm a Chinese person. How could I be of Israel? But remember what happened to Israel? Israel was scattered throughout the earth. All the nations of the world. You can't say that you're not of Israel. You don't know. You don't know because Israel lost their identity. But all the prophets tell us that this will happen. You know, Christian scholars have had so much trouble with this prophecy. They have tried spiritualizing this, because this is in all the prophets. I mean, you just spend a little time reading the prophets, they all say this, that this is what is going to happen in the final days, that the remnant of Israel will be regathered as a nation. It's everywhere. And so, you know, the Christian scholars have spiritualized this. Oh, this pictures the church and what God is doing in the church. We all know God is done with Israel. They're wrong. God could not be done with Israel. In the book of Jeremiah, he said that sooner the stars would fall from the sky that Israel would cease to be a nation before him. God is true. He is loyal. He is remembering Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. He is remembering his promises to his friends. He is remembering the covenant with David. The Gentile times are over, and Israel is being raised up to be his glory in the world. But it's a different kind of Israel than what people have ever thought. This is a multicolored, rainbow Israel. People from every nation that nevertheless are Israel. And he is raising up this remnant. And they will be drawn together. And you know, the rest of the world will look at this and scratch their head. They're going to think this is some weird cultic thing. This can't be real. And anyway, I'm going to be raptured out of here, so I don't really care. That's what they're thinking. Well, it's all going to end up different than any of those people ever thought. Because God is going to keep his word. He's going to keep his word literally. And he is going to gather the remnant of Israel out of all the nations. He is going to cause them once again to be a nation. A real nation. And in his time, the second Exodus is going to happen. Those people, now part of this restored nation that he has pulled out one by one. He's going to gather them together, and they are all going home. And we will be restored to our land. And it's all going to happen. And this part is what may sound a little different to you than you've heard before. But it's all going to happen before the Great Tribulation ever breaks out in the world. It has to. Because it's in the land of Israel that the remnant of Israel will be protected. They will return to the land just like those faithful ones in the first century went to Pella before the tribulation descended upon Judea. And they were in that place of safety. See, there are scriptures that talk about that, about escaping the trouble before it happens. Many of the pre-trib rapture people take those verses and they apply them to the Gentile church, saying, oh, well, this means that we're going to be raptured out of here before the bad stuff happens. But actually, it's not talking about Yahweh actually transferring us out at that time. There will be a gathering up, but that is going to occur later. Before that, all the prophets say that we're going to return to the land. And that is where we will be protected. Like, for instance, right here in Luke, chapter 21, when this finishes up here, it says, truly I say to you, this generation will not pass away until all things take place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. And it says, it will come upon all those who dwell on the face of all the earth. But keep on the alert at all times, praying in order that you may have strength to escape all these things that are about to take place and to stand before the Son of Man. And a little earlier here, when it talks about all of this, It uses the word escape. In fact, right here in this verse it uses it, that you may have strength to escape all these things. Well, the Greek word here means not to be snatched out, but it means to flee away from. That's what the word means, escape here. It means to flee away from. That's exactly what the remnant of Israel is going to do, because they're going to flee out of all these nations where all this trouble is going to descend. And they're going to come together in a place